Welcome guys to another edition of the TPO Fly of the Month. This month we're going to make a Compara spinner. Alright, we're going to use UTC thread 70 in dark brown. I'm going to start by wrapping my hook from the eye to the back. Okay, I'm going to go to the rear of the fly with my thread. Alright, I'm going to stop there. I'm going to use dark brown Coochie spectrumized dubbing. I really like the effect this stuff gives, and since I started going up to the Delaware, even when I was younger, this was the first dubbing that was sold to me, and I just believe it's the most effective stuff. I think all the different colors give the trout a lot to look for positively and less to dispute negatively. So if you look, I dubbed a small ball of thread at the rear of my fly. This is what I'm going to use to separate my tails. I'm going to use regular dun color microfibbits for the tail. I'm going to use 3 on each side. So I'm going to tie in my first set. For the video here, I'm going to not trim the tails, but for my own flies, I don't think the tails have to look so nice, so I just put them in, double them over, and I trim the tails. But for this, just to make it look a little nicer, I'm going to splay the tails the way the pattern originally calls for. Okay, I'm going to tie this in. If you look here, my 2 tails are even. Okay, microfibbits are good because the material they're made out of, I believe, helps the fly to float correctly. I'm going to trim my materials going towards the front of the fly. This is another quick fly that's deadly. This fly is going to take us only a few minutes here from start to finish. Now I'm going to dub the body. I'm going to dub a pretty thin body here. Going to come up to a little bit more than half the fly with my dubbing. If you look, I'm coming up here. Make my spinners a little bit thinner than the duns. For some reason I noticed the spinners in the water are a lot more thinner, the body of the flies, than the adults, than the living ones. So there we go. About middle of the fly. Now I'm going to tie my hackle. For the wing of this, I'm just going to use grizzly hackle. I'm going to tie it in. Then I'm going to go back to the end of the hackle here. Trim the thread. Trim the hackle stem. Now I'm going to dub back over the hackle stem. Okay. Here we go. All right. Look at I want this to be a little bit thicker than the body, just to create that realistic taper of all the mayflies have. Okay. Now I'm going to take my hackle. I'm going to wrap it over the dubbing. I like to do it with my hands, even though I should use hackle pliers. Going to make the wing pretty thick, but we're going to trim the top and bottom to create the spinner. Okay. Pull this tight. Okay, I'm going to wrap in front of it after I wrap behind it. This is so that if I cut that hackle stem there, I don't cut the thread, because I know we all can't stand that. We cut it and we're like, oh, fly's done. So now I'm going to wrap over this. Okay. Going to whip finish. We're almost finished. Okay. If you look, the hackle goes all the way around. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim the top. And I'm going to trim the bottom. you look, I have a flat spinner profile. You turn it over. You turn it over that way. There's my Isonychia spinner. This is a useful fly anywhere east of the Mississippi. Most our streams, either tailwaters or some of the spring creeks, and all our freestones have this hatch. Enjoy this fly, guys. You will do well on it.